Welcome. This is the lecture about groups and leadership. It is from chapter 9 of the textbook. Let's talk about types of groups. There are a number of different types. We've got formal, advisory, creative, supportive, networking. These are all different varieties of groups. And let's talk about some of the examples of each. So, for formal types of groups, we have our governments, are specifically outlined with set rules. Those are our government groups. Next, we have advisory groups. Now, an advisory group might be a committee that's put together to organize an event. That would be a good example of an advisory group, like the committee that put together senior prom. A creative group is a group of people who have come together to brainstorm ideas or to create some idea generation, some creative process within the group. That's their purpose for being. And next, support groups. A great example of a support group is Alcoholics Anonymous, where a group of individuals coming through with a shared experience of trying to overcome an addiction. And finally, networking. There are some great examples of networking groups, professional and otherwise, but one of the most common that we see is social networks. That's an example of a very common group of networks. Cohesivity, which is really a word, I checked, is important when it comes to groups because some groups, they are not very cohesive. They break up on a whim and dissipate, go away. Others, when they have a more substantial purpose, they are much more cohesive and are able to pursue that goal, that purpose, their reason for being. So cohesivity is an important aspect of groups. Interdependence in groups can be a great thing. So interdependence is the idea of everyone doing their part. You split up all the responsibilities among everyone does their part, and everything gets done. And that's great. That's a great way to accomplish goals if everyone does their part. Now, here's the problem with interdependence throughout a group. If someone doesn't fulfill their responsibilities, things start to fall apart. And the other problem with an interdependent, like responsibilities spread throughout an entire group, is that you can't really recognize an individual. And if someone put in extra effort and really did a lot, then and they're not recognized for that, it's going to reflect in future interactions with the group. They're going to be less interested in doing extra when they're not recognized for it. Groups have a number of different roles, and among those are roles that are formally established, like the chairman, the secretary, you name it, that have clear responsibilities that are clearly defined. Those are the formal roles in a group. There are others in a group that serve a purpose, but they are informal. Say with a town hall meeting, citizens come in to express their concerns to get them to discuss a certain topic. That would be an informal role. Next, disruptive. So disruptive is the idea that someone brings an intentionally differing opinion to the group. So this can be a positive thing, and it can help avoid situations where groupthink leads to poor decision making, but it can also be so disruptive if it's not handled well that it can cause the group to the processes to break down. So other roles within the group are social roles, and those are the kind of roles that they want to keep everyone engaged, want to keep people coming back, want to keep people feeling like they're really a part of the group. And finally, the task roles within a group, they can fall into several of these other categories. So someone could have a social role and have a task role, or they could be the same role, but they could fulfill two of these different things. So say someone wants people to feel engaged in the group, so they bring snacks, they plan an outing with the group, things like that. Let's talk about Tuckman's 5 stages of group development. First is forming. This is when the group is initially created and when they're just kind of decide on their purpose. Why do they exist? Next, storming, we're going to determine who's going to be in charge and the roles of the members of the group. Norming, now we're on to the normal activities of the group. They're doing this normal thing, they're working towards their purpose, and then we move on to performing. When they get to this stage, they are doing their thing as well as they will do it. And finally, adjourning is kind of when a group wraps things up. Is at some stage, the group will end. And so they will look back at what's happened in the group and go their own separate ways. All right, leadership. This is the second part of this chapter, and leadership is important when it comes to groups. And what makes a leader? Now, there used to be this idea that a leader was like a lone sheriff in the Wild Wild West, where they would go and it would come down to one person to make the decisions. Whereas a very vertical structure of organization where there was a boss at the top, people would bring ideas to him, and he might accept them and decide to go one direction or the other, but the final decision was all his. Now, most organizations, I say most, but they're wide and varied and so many different varieties of leadership structures, but it is rare for leadership to be such a vertical command structure. Now, it's frequently more of a council situation where members of a group or an organization will come together, they'll discuss their problems, and instead of a leader being the final say, yes, no, the leader will instead be the person keeping everyone on track, keeping them focused, and helping everyone come to a consensus. The textbook discusses two main leadership styles, and these are task leaders and socio-emotional leaders. So a task leader is going to be someone who is following the agenda, sticking to a strict schedule, focused on getting the job done. That is their main primary purpose. Now, a socio-emotional leader, their purpose is a little bit different. They're still focused on getting things done, but they're instead focused on making sure everyone has a say, and that when everything's all said and done, everyone feels good about the solution that they've arrived at. There are two main types of power that the textbooks describe, and that's the formal power of leadership position or informal power. So formal power is something that's defined by the rules, like the captain of a ship. They are in charge, they set the course, they are in charge of the crew, all of these things. Now, informal power, that is different. It's not something that's formally set apart like with a role. That is the power that someone has within a group for being well respected, well liked, and it gives them sway over others. So this picture on this slide is of the Endurance. The Endurance was captained by his captain was Shackleton, and their goal was to cross Antarctica. Now, as you can see in this picture, that ship is stuck in the ice, and it is quite the story of leadership from Ernest Shackleton and his crew when they were stuck in the ice, because they got stuck in the ice miles and miles and miles away from Antarctica without any real way of getting all their supplies and all of their prepared materials to Antarctica. So they had to make a decision. And Ernest Shackleton, he used his formal powers as the captain to organize the crew, gather all the supplies they could. Fortunately, the way the ship was trapped in the ice, they had a significant amount of time. They had days on board to gather anything useful and come up with a way to carry them, a way to carry their supplies and survive on the ice outside of Antarctica, off the coast of Antarctica. So it is quite the amazing story, and I highly recommend the book titled Endurance, and it's the story of their expedition. And there's a number of leadership lessons throughout that book. it has become essentially synonymous with a leader, that they will have the vision, that they will know where the group needs to go. However, I think that is less accurate than it should be. The leader's role shouldn't be to know where they need to go and what to do already before they even start. It should be to help cultivate the group and assist them in creating a shared vision and a way that they can accomplish their goal that's within their means.